Good morning, everybody, and happy. I don't know if you wish people a happy Labor Day, um, a productive Labor Day, but we're going to have fun this morning. Liz Margolese, who is a therapist in New York City, is writing a memoir and going to tell us about it. And so I'm going to make our introductions brief so that we can have all the time we need with Liz. So you're on, Liz.
Good morning. I'm Liz. Hi. I'm watching all the little screens flicker on. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Betsy.
Oh, great.
So, this is called Hiding in Plain Sight, the shame, terror, and sometimes joy of writing a graphic memoir. And I'm going to speak, I prepared something coordinated with pictures from the graphic memoir that I'm in the middle of, to illustrate what I'm doing in words and pictures. I'm in my 4th year of writing and drawing a graphic memoir, and I'd like to show you and tell you some things about what's great and satisfying about it, and also what's terrifying about it. And while I was preparing this, I realized that presenting it like this is terrifying. So I typed it all out with the pictures in the right places, because it's one thing to produce something, and put it on the web and you're not there. And it's another thing for me to be here as me and telling you, because it's really very personal and it feels risky. So there's a real element of trust. But I also thought that it would be helpful because people have said in some of the previous workshops, they'll kind of raise their hands and say, what do I do about this? I'm blocked. Or someone last time said that. Somebody else weeks before, well, what do you do if you're stuck? I see that, under the surface, I believe there are a lot of people who would like to do things like this and are having trouble. And I'm one of those people, but I've also been working on that issue for a lot of years. So I'm a stuck person, and I'm also not a stuck person, and I'm in conflict, and all of it is happening all the time. So all the parts I fear exposing, and that this is going to be too much me, and that's not nice. But this is who I am right now, and maybe it's not so different from who you are. Maybe we all have the same issues. So that's the role of faith here as I proceed. And at the end of the presentation, I want to give you an opportunity to express yourselves in the medium. So if you want to get a piece of paper and something to write with, just to do a little picture later, that would be great as I start. And now on with the memoir. Okay, here's the tricky part. Share screen. Okay, I see it. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to click share. Now, why did I want to write a memoir? Is my life notable? Well, no, it's not. I am an ordinary old white lady psychologist. But we all know that what's on the surface is not the whole story. And I've spent an almost lifetime with a compulsion to find out what's under the surface and to speak it and sometimes yell it out, and not always appropriately. For example, in school, I was always the class clown and very frequently in trouble. And my mother had to go up to school and explain my badness and get me forgiven. And there was a lot of humiliation involved in being the class clown. Later, I turned it for a while into stand-up comedy. This was already after I was a therapist, because I had always wanted to do that. And my comedy tended to be self-deprecating, as a lot of comedy is, a lot of women's comedy is. Here's my best joke. The night before the serial killer Ted Bundy's execution, he was visited by his fiance. A convicted murderer has a better social life than I did in New York City. That was very timely in the 80s and 90s. The New York Times had a front page article that a 35-year-old woman had as much chance of getting married as a terrorist attack or something like that. And many single women were very upset about that. Okay, my urge to uncover what's really going on is part of what motivated me to become a psychotherapist. To speak the truth in the presence of others and to listen, to be witnessed is so important to me. Hence, going over my life story to see what feels new to me is a big part of why I'm writing and drawing the memoir. At the same time as blurting out what I'm seeing, however, I'm always hiding. Whereas I am able to present a pretty good picture of normalcy to people, I've always felt weird, abnormal, even damaged. And that I will be shunned for this. Shunned by others, because of course we are interaction. The conflicts between my inside and my outside have been manifest in many ways throughout my life. But the major way I experience this dissonance is a feeling of insecurity and anxiety. And I've had anxiety my whole life. I've always had a lot of anxiety. As a young child, separation anxiety. Mommy, please don't go. Don't cry. Mommy will be home soon. How many is soon? That characterizes my early years, I would say. Mommy, don't go. Social anxiety. Okay. Making friends has always been hard for me. The anxiety and fear of rejection usually makes socializing not worth it. And there I am, many years of watching late night TV with a pint of Haagen-Dazs. This is kind of like being with friends, isn't it? Okay. And now I'm older, which has its advantages, actually, but the anxiety has taken a new form. In fact, the worst thing about my getting old is that I've developed a pretty severe degree of health anxiety and death anxiety. I spend way too much time thinking something is wrong with me inside. I'm not swallowing right. Is that a lump? My pancreas hurts. Wait, where is the pancreas? But why write and draw about all this anxiety? Because I've come to understand that one of the terrible things about anxiety is that it's often a secret. My patients with anxiety disorders, God, I hate the word disorder, often say that the worst thing about a panic attack is that other people will see it. And my patients are afraid of fainting, of losing control of their bodily functions, and someone will see. It's a humiliation thing. And this is very interesting to me. And other people say, why are you afraid when there's nothing to be afraid of? What's the matter with you? Are you crazy? There's a whole crazy thing about being anxious. The metaphor suggested by health anxiety is that there must be something awful inside of you. And even though I know it's a metaphor, well, going to the doctor has become particularly difficult. Here's the doctor. I always got straight A's and the world is totally logical. And there's me lying on the thing with the gown with the opening to the back, ludicrously still wearing socks and shoes, trying to retain human dignity as I'm being scrutinized and looking to see what kind of awful things are inside of me. And I think many of us, most of us, feel similarly at the doctor. So why write a memoir about this? Well, because if you were laughing a little bit with recognition, that's why. Because one of the greatest joys of writing and drawing my memoir is the feeling and hope that other people will connect to it, to resonate with speaking about things that we don't often talk about, either because we don't really notice them or we don't want to notice them, or because they're taboo subjects. But why draw the memoir? I am not an artist. So this was puzzling to me, sort of a compulsion to draw this and not write it. Well, for years, I've loved graphic memoirs, and Alison Bechdel and Roz Chast. They're sort of gods to me to be able to write their lives in that way and draw them. And over the years, I've drawn some cartoons and put them on Facebook and other places, and I get a good response from them. People relate. And what is better than to have people give you a good response and say, that's just like me. I love that more than anything. So that's one of the things I love about doing this. Okay. When I just write words, I get tangled up in the words and the scene falls flat. I get too involved in concepts and in making the prose seem perfect and smart. But when I draw, the scenes arise in front of me and I feel as if I'm creating my own dreams. In drawing, I sometimes go into states that are almost dissociative, but in a pleasant way. It's a kind of tripping. Sometimes I find myself laughing or crying as I experience the maybe felt senses of the scene that I'm working on. It can really hurt, but it's also an amazing catharsis. And sometimes I just sit there and draw. And as I'm thinking of weird things, I make myself laugh. So, for example, here are the old people who are saying, this is within the context of the memoir. I pulled it out, so the captions don't always make total sense. But you're thinking, well, you are really old. Of course, you're concerned with illness and death. And to a certain extent, you're right. Everything is stiff. Is it Robert Shakespeare, Clyde Shakespeare, Mick Shakespeare? All of that deterioration that's happening now. So that's a big part of drawing this memoir is I make myself laugh, and I hope I make other people laugh too. So my process is I start a scene by drawing the literal events with what seems like reality, but then the feelings and felt senses break through and create their own images. It's still reality, but now it's mine. And often the real becomes the surreal. That's the fun part about this process. And I kind of free associate to what I've drawn and add stuff. So for example, contemplating beginning therapy again, I realized that all my therapists are dead that I went to. So I need somebody new. Who could I go to now? And this was something that I was really thinking about. But then I kind of pulled it into the surreal. Okay, should I go to someone my own age who presents themselves as having some special wisdom? Life is about meaning and purpose. The old existential guy. I have to pee again is what he's thinking. Or a younger therapist who just doesn't get how to deal with the horrors of aging. It must be frightening to be old. Glad it's not me. And then I put in, they each have the same mid-century modern coffee table. He bought his in 1950 in the mid-century. She bought hers on Etsy last year. Can this process that I do be a little bit like focusing? Campbell Purton, who I only learned about over the weekend, says, this keeping our attention on the problem as a whole while allowing new details to emerge requires serious concentration, as Rodin noted, in connection with artistic creation. What we are trying to attend to is what lies beyond the things we already feel and think. Okay. When I draw my memoir, I can say how I really feel about things. For example, my feelings about some of the many treatments I've participated in to treat my anxiety, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, where the therapist says, your thinking is irrational. If you look at it logically, you'll realize that there's only a 1 in 1,000 chance that your symptom will prove fatal. So stop worrying. And I'm thinking, but all those ones aren't equal. If I'm the 1 in 1,000, then I'm dead. Which I think is an implicit thing that people think in cognitive behavioral therapy when they're told to think probabilistically. Okay. I've also tried the hippest, grooviest technique, or as they say, practice mindfulness, except that focusing on your body doesn't make you less anxious when it's your body that you're anxious about. So the guru says, pay attention to your breath. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how many breaths do I even have left? And this even includes focusing, when you're supposed to focus on your body, and your body is the source of all kinds of terrors. Okay, drawing. I get to be silly. I get to say and draw what I want. When I was growing up, I felt pretty much totally out of control of the narrative. Now, when I pick up my tablet and stylus, I have some control over what's going on. I can create my own world. Writing, and I guess any art, also allows you to maintain a comfortable distance from aspects of your life that can be very upsetting. As Gendlin put it, if you want to smell the soup, you don't stick your head in it. Drawing allows me the distance of humor, of the absurd, the distance of deliberate distortion. So this is my picture of supplements for anxiety that I've gotten from Amazon. Gestrogen, Grass X, Have a Blessed Day, Sacred Supplement. Graphic memoirs, graphic novels, also, they're basically comics. So you can kind of get away with things because you're only drawing a comic. You're not doing anything serious. Of course, we know that's not true. And we know that graphic memoirs, such as Art Spiegelman's Mouse and Alison Bechdel's Fun Home, are quite serious. But there is something about the childlike aspect of the style, I think, that kind of modulates or softens what people are actually saying and drawing. You can get away with stuff when it's only a cartoon. So those are my motivations to drawing my memoir. That's the good stuff. All that positive and promising and exciting stuff, to be heard, to be understood, and to connect with others. At times, it's so exciting that I become grandiose. I have a fantasy about telling you all about my life, including everything that went wrong, but also the parts that are hilarious and heartwarming, and we will all laugh and cry and heal together, and I will be beloved, and my life will be wonderful, and all the bad stuff that I went through will turn out to have been completely worth it. And here I am with millions of Instagram followers in my imagination, and we're all screwed up, and a million people love me for saying that. But there's a dark side to this, which I call the obstacles. This is the other side of writing this memoir that goes through my head all the time. Okay. When I pick up my tablet and pencil, I freeze. Obstacle, I can't draw. If graphic memoirs by Alison Bechdel, Lynn, Kaminsky, Crum, and Ross Chast exist in the world, who am I to think I have a place in that world? But I'm also giving some workarounds here. Okay, so a workaround is that some of the pictures I trace. I found a way to Google things if I need the shape of somebody in a certain position, and I can put them on that picture and I can trace them. And then I get rid of the picture and I make the tracing my own. But more important, instead of seeing my drawing style as childish or primitive or awful, I decided that the style allows me to get into my idiosyncratic reality with conviction, and that the answer for me was to say, this is how I draw, rather than I draw poorly. And I just went with it. And I find, interestingly, I've been doing this for about 4 years. I'm getting better. I'm actually, if you practice something, it turns out you can get better. Obstacle, I'm a psychologist. My work is supposed to be deep and theoretical, like these brilliant female psychologists, Darlene Ehrenberg, Beatrice Beebe, Jessica Benjamin. They all have big ideas and big hair. And here I'm drawing cartoons. Is this what I'm supposed to be doing with my life? I don't know. But obstacle. I have had so much treatment for various problems. Why aren't I better? Here's my new therapist, my fantasy of her supervision group. I've been seeing her for years and I just don't know what to do anymore. Oh, that's so hard on you. Such rigid defenses. Some patients are beyond our help. So that's one of my nightmares, is being talked about in a group behind my back about what an awful What an awful project I am for a therapist. And I still have a lot of trouble with the feeling of abnormality and weirdness. I feel that I shouldn't have an anxiety disorder. I hate that term, particularly because I'm not sure that my patients want to see a therapist with an anxiety disorder, which they don't know. But sometimes when I see somebody and I may be feeling anxiety while they're talking, and I feel weird and secretive, and a patient may say, I have this pain, I'm afraid it's cancer. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have the same pain, except mine probably is cancer. Me hiding my anxiety inside my Eileen Fisher separates. That happens to be a high-end sportswear company. That's kind of a lot of therapists who have money buy those clothes. I actually don't, but thought it was funny. Anyway, obstacle. How much of my true history can I reveal without being cast asunder by fellow humans? This is, I think, a universal memoir writing problem. You did that with him? God, gross. I mean, you want to say the truth, but how much of the truth can you say? Corollary. There are some people who might be very sad to read about some of the things I've gone through. How much do you reveal, and how much of other people do you betray when you're talking about what happened with your family? This is a huge issue in memoir writing. Okay. Obstacle. Oh, I didn't do that already. Okay. My feelings toward others aren't always so nice. I just read your memoir. I didn't know you hated me. That's not what I meant, or was it? Obstacle. Why do I think the story of my life would be interesting when I am just another privileged white woman? I have access to excellent goods and services, the best medical care, and the feeling that I can walk around in relative safety. Policemen love me. Enjoy your day, ma'am. I live a privileged life. So in sum, my memoir could be terrific or it could suck. Terrific sucks, back and forth in a perpetual oscillation between glory and shame. It's an exhausting way to live. Now I'm going to go a little bit into the horrors of diagnosis, because when I was reading about some of my issues, I came across Psychoanalytic Diagnosis, Understanding Personality Structure in the Clinical Process by Nancy McWilliams, PhD, where she describes a narcissistic personality organization, excessively preoccupied, fear of fragmentation, hypochondriacal preoccupations, and morbid fears of death, afraid of falling apart. Oh my God. So there was that. I'm not a big fan of diagnoses, but I felt I had to include this to head off anybody else who's going to diagnose me. Also, talking about narcissistic issues turns out to be helpful when discussing a child's development and the things that can go wrong and how to make them better. And in the later parts of the memoir, it's kind of a great segue to self-psychology and theory of development. Okay. This all seems so negative, doesn't it? But I do cut myself some breaks, one of which is cultural factors. I am a New York City Jew coming from a long and glorious Eastern European tradition of pessimism, dread, and hypochondriasis. And here are all of these people who have written about hypochondriasis, pessimism, dread, anxiety. Woody Allen, Franz Kafka, Philip Roth, all of them. And then I noticed they're all men. So funny, no women. Well, here's a literary wife. We were making dinner, taking care of the children, doing the laundry, and God knows what else. So there's a whole gendered thing that I will go into at some point. But other people my age and of my culture seem to have a much better attitude than I do. Life is a blessing, writing in gratitude journals and playing pickleball. Do they have a much better attitude, or do they have a better presentation? I don't know the answer. Okay. Well, let me go back here for a second. Okay, so do I have to change? Am I supposed to change? Am I supposed to be normal? This is another big issue. Do I have to fit into a mold that says how people are supposed to be? And does my memoir have to be a moral lesson about how to get better? One of my favorite writers, Laurie Stone, says, and this is a quote, "Recently, I was talking with some people about writing a memoir. I was suggesting you don't need a story that can be summarized as, I used to be, and now I'm not. I used to be dumb, and now I'm smart. I used to be an addict, and now I'm clean. I used to believe in God, and now I'm an atheist. You could write a memoir that says, I used to be, and I still am. I want to feel better, as we all do, and to be able to express myself more freely. In fact, about 10 years ago, I wrote a book. I wrote a self-help book called Finishing School, Overcoming Work Blocks to Get Your Projects Done and Into the World. It comprises about 400 pages of theory and techniques to help people who are blocked. As I was for about 15 or 20 years, I couldn't do anything after having been a music major in college, music composition, and I couldn't do anything. So I've always been very interested in getting totally stuck. And I tried to get it published and I couldn't because all the agents I sent it to said you need at least 10,000 followers on social media before you can get a book like that published. So I published it myself and it's on Amazon and some people bought it. And I really am just bringing this up because I wouldn't write this book today. Okay. Today, when I consider how I'm able to write and draw, when I am able to, I think it has mostly to do with gaining the ability to form supportive relationships with people whom you see as equals rather than punitive authority figures. I am so lucky to have had the support of a number of excellent therapists. Here are some of them who have given incisive interpretations. Your physical symptoms are a metaphor for the damage you feel inside of you. Emotional understanding. Given all that you've told me about your personal history and experience, it makes perfect sense that you would feel this way. And compassion. It wasn't your fault. And friends, online and in real life. A very loving partner. Good morning. Thank you, sweetie. I can only say sweetie ironically. I'm working on this. And some excellent cats. These relationships have given me, as Rollo May put it, the courage to create. What is the courage to create? I'm talking about the courage to be authentically you. What is that? Well, I'm not really sure, but it makes a good segue into how I came up with the title of the memoir. Shortly after beginning to write the memoir, I began to contemplate letting my natural, authentic gray hair grow out. I had been dyeing it for years. Why? Well, aside from the pain in the ass of dyeing my hair and the God knows what effects of the chemicals, I have a fantasy that it might be self-affirming and I would be a better feminist, a kind of woman with long gray hair who reads Virginia Woolf in the evening instead of watching dumb TV shows. 3 years later, my hair is actually now gray, and I got a title for the memoir, Growing in My Gray, which I am doing literally, and also it's a metaphor for hopefully growing as I age and attempting to transcend the black and white of conceptual binary thinking, an acceptance of the shades of gray of authentic, direct experience. And in the last couple of years, focusing has been instrumental in helping me become more friendly toward myself and others, to acknowledge at least a few of my many parts. I'm learning about the parts. Okay. Although it's still hard to let my body into all of this, but that's another story. So drawing my memoir has its joys and its agonies. It's also a perpetual stop and go process. I go forward, drawing away, imagining how good it's going to be, and then the shame of exposure and bad feelings about my past, and lots of emotions overtake me, and there are months when I can't draw at all. When this happens, here is what helps. I picture myself as a little girl in bed in my pink room, which my mother had decorated with some art on the walls. There was a set of cardboard cutouts from the book Alice in Wonderland. Alice was looking alarmed as the Mad Hatter dunked the poor dormouse in the teapot, seemingly waterboarding him for all eternity, displaying the evil and humiliation that was always lurking when you let down your guard. However, on the facing wall was another picture, a picture of a little girl with a paintbrush stuck in her ponytail, ready to start painting, unafraid to make a mess and to discover all the parts that may be living inside of her. I think about that little girl on the wall and the little girl, me, in the bed when I'm stuck, and I give myself permission to have a little faith that in my quest to be real, I'm not waterboarding myself or anybody else too much. I just hope as I continue my journey through my life story that I'm actually growing in my gray. So I could open it up now or do the exercise or doing it more to come or do an attunement. Home. Now I have to stop sharing the screen. Did it? You. Okay.
That was wonderful, Liz. And
Thanks.
I think people would really love to respond to it.
Laura.
Fantastic title. I love it. I love all of the ramifications of it. You know, I really resonated with the learning to say, this is the way I write. This is the way I draw rather than I'm not good at it. And I have an obsession about creativity process. Like that's almost as interesting to me as creating, but the process. And I'm noticing my husband became a songwriter in the COVID in the last couple of years. And that's from a lifetime of supporting other people in business who wrote songs who were considered magical in his eyes, and watching his creative process and that moving back and forth between it's going to be amazing and I'm going to have 18 million followers and what am I doing, you know? So, and then I enjoyed the positions and the design of your pages. They're very clever and you were very funny. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing it. I have been thinking about last week and how when I was on prednisone, I wrote a poem about my breasts and then shared it, and it's going to be on YouTube. What was I thinking?
A wonderful poem. Wow.
Thank you for your vulnerability and willing to share this wonderful project with us.
Thanks. Anybody else or?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I'm Meg Skydwell. I love the humor. In fact, I might have been busier laughing than taking it to heart. And especially the little comments at the bottom. Almost every panel was so rich and funny, but touching and so honest. I started feeling like, am I Liz Margolus? Wait, she stole my parts. I really.
Thank you. You are a person who said that you did comedy, right?
Yeah, I used to write jokes and greeting cards and did stand up in Boston for about 3 years.
Okay.
I only made my whole career income for that was $200. Well, $300 when I count the freelance, but yeah, it
I was thinking when you're saying about laughing that when I thought about doing this presentation, because of the Zoom situation, you don't get any kind of group laughter, and how you kind of feel that from somebody who's done comedy, that's like dying. You say the things and you get silence, and that this was going to kind of mimic that experience. So I had to have faith that people are having their responses, even though I can't hear them.
it was fun. It was good. I probably enjoyed it more than I should have. First pass through.
That's interesting.
Charles has his hand up.
Who?
Charles.
Charles.
Hi.
Where is
That
Charles?
was, hi, Liz. Here.
Oh, okay. Hi, Charles.
Hi. I just enjoyed that. Oh God. And the humor was delightful. And I kept saying, oh, I hope there are more drawings. I hope there are more pictures. They were just so much fun. And yet at the
At some
same time,
point,
of course,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
at the same time, of course, it was very serious. It was humor. I know your humor was touching deep things that touched me as well. And I just admire your putting yourself out there. That's great. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Inspiring.
Marvin.
By the way, there's a laughter symbol that you can use if you like.
Liz,
Oh.
it's worth getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning for you. That's
Oh, that's a
number
compliment.
one. You have tremendous courage, and you're a funny person, and so it's delightful to see your creativity and honesty and your complexity. And you say what I feel sometimes, so it's really it's very meaningful, your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Hi,
Nessie,
it's
Roberta
Jessica.
raising their hands.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jim, for picking that up. Liz, you were an inspiration. I love graphic novels, and I follow Linda Barry,
Mm.
who wrote a book called she all her books are graphic. And she wrote a book, The Syllabus, An Accidental Professor. And I always wanted to do one of my syllabuses, like a comic book like that, because I teach arts intervention. And I said, oh, it would be great if my syllabus for arts intervention was kind of creative like that. So I've been trying to do that. But, I do have your little book, the one about like procrastinators. I say it's a great book for perfectionists, The Finishing School.
Huh. Wow.
I do have it. And
Amazing.
I said it's a great book for perfectionists who want to finish a project. And I did find on the internet also, because I do follow other graphic artists, I found your one on the gray hair, the one that you just showed, My Gray Hair. That's on the internet.
Well, I could give a URL of
Yes.
what I have so far. This is
Yeah,
just
that'd be
a
great.
selection for this presentation to kind of say what the process, but
Yeah.
I have more.
Yeah, no, I love it, Liz. I loved your
Thank you so
honesty.
much.
I loved the courage to be oneself is so important, and to say this is who I am, that transparency. And I always say that funny people have been through a lot of pain and are able to transform the pain into such joy. I mean, I was laughing all the time, and the way that you presented it, I just saw a different you, Liz. I mean, you've always been there in the background, but it's just like having you present today has been just an inspiration for me. And I think
Thank you.
I love when you said, get a notebook, do something. So I feel like today from here, I'll go continue my dream of doing the syllabus. I might do the syllabus for existential humanistic course, the one that I can't use the word existential for. I can only, I might do it that way. But anyway, thank you, Liz. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Liz, it's Betsy. I just wanted to thank you also.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi, and tell you that you've inspired me. And I guess that the process that you described and the parts work and all of that, I related to, to working with a lot of parts. And I not really visually, I don't have a lot of experience creating visual things. And except for photography, maybe. And I think maybe that's sort of inspiring me to pick up a camera again and do things with it. So, and also the rest of it was very wonderful. I love Roz Chash. She just makes me, I love her. I love her the way she looks at life. So thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
Thanks, Betsy.
You're welcome.
Hi, it's Ro.
Hi.
Hi, it is so enviable how well you know yourself.
Hmm.
You know, I'm fascinated how you have really covered all of the nuances internally and going inside yourself. Those hysterical pictures of the doctor visits. I mean, it's like every inner and outer layer you've tried to become connected to. And I just want to say congratulations, because I think that's what life is for that kind of awareness, that deep kind of inner respect for all of the dings and doubts and worries and tribulations. I mean, you've done it. So you can stop now and enjoy your life.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's BJ.
Hi, BJ.
I can't ever find how you raise your hand on the iPad. So forgive me, you guys that are being so polite and raising your hand. This, two things. When you said focusing helps you be more friendly to yourself, ... and to others, I was so impressed by that. It's very difficult for me to talk about what focusing is without just getting so lost in it that nobody would ever want to do it. And it was just precious to say it's a way that I can be more friendly to myself. So thank you so much for that. And secondly, the black and white, no, gray. There was something about the way you said that about, and using the imagery about your hair. It just was so reassuring. I've been seeing those things about not black, not white, from a distance, from the mountaintop, it's gray, and all of that since I was 18. But somehow that connection to something in the body itself that tells me that when I want to be absolutist and when I want to say this is the right way, it's this way or it's that way, you should or you shouldn't, that there's also something in me, just like that gray hair coming, that knows that's not true, that knows there's something in the middle that's so much more gentle and merciful. And that's what focusing has been for me, is helping me to get out of that absolutist mentality. And today having a chance to get to know you better has just been delightful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that the black and white thing is interesting illustratively about the creative process, in the sense that I had no intention of writing about that. What does it illustrate? That if you, this is addressing stuckness, okay? That you get stuck and you think, I can't. It's just stop. But if I let myself just go to the next thing, which is so much like focusing, right? I let myself just think of whatever it is, then that gray hair occurred to me. It wasn't the title. I didn't really have a title. And one thing leads to another. That's something that I've learned. And also, to take what's available rather than to think that there's an ideal out there and I can't do it. And so I stop. Rather than just something is going to occur to you and let it live and see what happens next. Whether you're writing something, even it could be, you know, an academic paper or something, it could be anything. But I just know I've spent so many years thinking, no, that's not right. No, no, just so many no's. And so then there's that cliche of improv, yes, and which is also used by people about focusing. So I think it's so true of the creative process too, to just say, oh, that occurred to me. Let's see where we can go. And I find that I go to places I never would have imagined if I allow it to just happen and not think I have to control it every second.
Take what's available. Thank you.
Yeah.
Leslie?
Yes, I thought that it was very, very, very funny. It was just wonderfully funny and amazing. And what I really love is the satire that you use, you know, around all the self-help stuff. Because I mean, it is just so kind of, it's so oppressive. And it just, you know, all the time you could be doing better if you only did this or you only did that. And you just got that. I mean, that's, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. And the power of the media and how we get, burdened by it all. And you just kind of cut right through that. Thank you. It was really great. And
Thank you. That's why I put the Laurie Stone quote in, which really grabbed me about, you know, not getting trapped in, oh, I got better. And then I was also just thinking of Paul Simon's lyric of one of his songs, Still Crazy After All These Years. Many times.
I also had a funny thing that when I saw this yesterday and I thought graphic novel, and I was thinking of writing graphically. I mean, of course, it's obvious, but I didn't think of that. A memoir. I'm writing a memoir, which I think is graphic, but it's just passes completely different. But yeah, so it's really wonderful, and I'd love to get it.
Charles says in the chat, self-acceptance versus self-improvement.
No, I see no hands. So I just wanted to say too, it can be really, I found it really interesting sometimes to pick up a book and this mind, blah, blah, and cartoon, to bring all my colored magic markers, pencils, and cartoon along the edge. Because one of the problems I find with words force me to not just think, but decide. Because words are they're far apart. Whereas doodles and happy face, small face, frowny face, I don't have to think. So when I'm doodling along the margin or even across a paragraph and drawing a smiley face, teeth, whatever, the reaction just comes. And it's like, you could call it flash focusing. The reactions come and you just doodle. And then of course, for a course in humiliation, self-knowledge, then you go pick the book up 2 months later. say, what the heck was I thinking? But yeah, so, and it could be great practice if you're tempted to, like Liz, to write, to play with this autobiography. You can practice in the margin. You can practice with marginalia of whatever kind speaks to you.
I like how you say that in the margins, because it's almost as if it doesn't really count. You know, just the margin. It's when you feel that oh my God, this is what I actually did, that, and you can get so trapped in that. But I just tossed this off. So, and it kind of brings up the idea of primary process versus secondary process in the psychoanalytic thinking, you know, that let's say dreams, or, you know, that you want to find ways to kind of bypass all of the rigid conceptual overlearned material, what you should be doing, how it should look, and try to find little ways. As Freud said, the royal dreams were the royal road to the unconscious. You don't have to be a Freudian. Just the idea of allowing yourself to experience more directly and express more directly without all of that socialized, overlearned stuff that we've all had from all our years of school, particularly, and home, about how something is supposed to be, or you're not making the grade, you're not good enough.
Dorothy? You did, Dorothy?
Where's Dorothy? I lost Dorothy.
Unmute.
There's Dorothy.
Here I am. Hi. Oh, I'm just so happy to be here and share this time with you. It's just really special for me, you know, getting to know you, and just amazing how you can have this anxiety and it doesn't have to completely run you. You can go to the margins, as you said, and you can take course after course after course and not have that run you either. And I just feel you breaking through all these learned structures or ways of being in the world, and that, you know, it's like I want to have your graphic novel right in front of me, have it as my new Bible to go look at, because it's just so inspiring to me. And that, you know, I'm going to find my own ways to write. I'm just going to find my own ways, not other people. I'll get inspiration, but I'll be able to, when I finish painting my apartment and get that project, I will be able to write again. And I'm very excited about this. And also, Liz, I love that picture. Did your mother really have a painting like that of you with your ponytail and a brush?
It wasn't me. It was a watercolor of a little blonde girl with a messy ponytail and a paintbrush stuck in the ponytail. Yeah, it wasn't me. It was just
it doesn't even matter that it wasn't you.
Yeah, that was a picture in my room, along with these horrifying cardboard cutouts of characters from Alice in Wonderland.
I love that. I like to imagine that she saw who you were. You know, it just like makes me feel some part of her really saw who you were and are.
It's complicated.
It always is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just loving this discussion. And all of the wonderful things that everybody has to say. I'm wondering if we should go to the next part of people having a chance to see what comes from them. Maybe we don't have time today for a breakout room. Maybe we'll all draw and write for a few minutes and then come back and talk about it in the large group? What do you say, Liz? You're in charge.
Whatever people want. Let's see, it's 9:13. I don't know. Would people rather take 5 minutes to draw and then talk about that, or I don't know. There's no time for the breakout. Oh, the breakout room usually ends at 9:30 and then you have 15 more minutes.
Yeah, but we can do it any way we want to because we're breaking out with you, Liz. You're inspiring
If
all
people
of
want to
us.
draw, sometimes people like to draw, sometimes people hate to draw. So I didn't really know about that. Yeah, why not draw? And then we'll see. Okay, just 5 minutes. I have an attunement, and I hate the body in attunements, and also I knew we wouldn't have a lot of time. So I wrote a disembodied speed attunement.
Okay,
here it is.
maybe we need that. Yes.
Okay. Get as comfortable as you can in your chair, sofa, chaise longue, ergonomic sitting ball, or any other equipment that makes you feel more at home in this atmosphere, on this planet, within this particular context in which we find ourselves and each other this morning. Morning, that is, in Eastern Daylight Time. Your time and space may vary. You may want to attune your senses to what you are experiencing as out or in or around or within, and you might want to imagine something yourself, perhaps, as opening up to whatever might occur to you, maybe inside of you or outside of you, that you might or might not want to share with us. And now, if you would like to draw something about how you are feeling right now, what's in you, what you wish were in you or around you, where you might want to be, with whom, how things might look, but not necessarily literally, in any way that you want to make scratches on paper or some other medium. And then we can talk about it.
Sounds good. So we'll come back together at 20 after 9.
Okay.
Okay. And we're with each other as we're drawing.
Right. Does anybody want to speak about what happened? What came up for them?
Well, I would like to say something about how you affected my approach to the camera. I mean, the image that came to me was of a camera and my relationship to a camera and and how I feel about that and what that means. So I started to draw something, and I like that. I like what how that works, that you're not going at it from a kind of logical thought process thing. And I'm going to continue to work on this and see if this will open up new, maybe stuck areas about what I think of, maybe want to do more of, which, I've been contemplating.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That was really
Great.
very informative and inspiring. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks, Liz. And if you want to see the picture's here. It's sort of mushy, but
I wish we could, yeah, I was
That's
thinking
okay.
about that before, that it's hard to show.
yeah, that's all right. But anyway, yeah.
You want to say anything about what is on the picture?
Well, I started with a kind of picture of like a sketch of a camera.
Mhm.
And then on one side was what I see, what normally I'm looking at, which are buildings or children or nature, little images of buildings and a baby swaddled and flower and children and dogs. What catches my eye? Basically, lots of dogs and cats. And then on the other side, I put me, I, and then I realized I is also an eye, how you see, how you look. And I just wrote I, and then speak and process on top. So, and then more on the bottom of what I'm observing. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's different when you're using images. It feels richer in some way. It is richer in that way. And the connecting it with the visual, with the verbal together. Does, definitely
Cool.
move it. Okay.
Oh, right. Oh,
I'm done.
I realized right away that, oh, sorry.
Olivia has her hand up.
Hello. I was using my phone. Thank you. It's a really empowering presentation. I have a long, actually, struggling relationship with drawing. And you helped me realize maybe because it's so close to felt sense, and I always struggle. And I almost like had this immediate frustration response. It's like I couldn't express it with the painting or any kind of drawing. And since I was a child, I just went blank and sweaty and anxious and all those. But I just feel inspired, like, yeah, I just do something. So I did. I don't know if you can see it. So I was just using words, but I draw the words. And after at first the response was fear, just want to curl up. And then I'm like, what if I put some comforting color light around it? Just kind of did a little bit of focusing, like, oh, can I pat it with a little golden color, like welcoming it. And the next thing was noticing myself thinking. I just like, okay, thinking can be here. And the anxiety up and down, horizontal, fall apart. I just like everything. So
You put a soft edge,
inspired by,
you put a soft edge around it.
yeah, soft edge. So
Yeah.
somehow inspired by seeing how you
Really?
draw and hearing the
Oh, great.
story. Yeah, I really
Wonderful.
find a more creative, kind of a playful way. Yeah, thank you.
It's wonderful. It's nice to get a response. It's really very gratifying.
Can I put up my picture for a second? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if it shows. Will it show? Does it show?
And when you do it, yeah. Can you make it a little bit up?
Up like that?
Flower, a person.
Yeah, a flower, a person, the earth, the person hands reaching out, other hands reaching in. There's a kind of a flow, sort of going back and then forward at the same time, kind of balancing in a strange way.
I like his big hand.
I just can't, you want to, you just sit back and things come, right? Like you were saying, it just comes.
That's great. Anybody else?
Yeah, Leslie's got her hand up.
Yeah, hi. So I have a story. When I was about 9 at school, I was in a convent when I was in a convent. And I used to always draw bikini girls and ballet dancers in my textbooks. And I was found out, and especially the bikini girls, and I got dragged into the corridor by a nun who said to me, "What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this?" And a friend also used to draw, and she told the nun, no, she was going to put dresses on them, but the nun made me feel like the worst fornicator. I mean, just so humiliated. And, I've thought about this many times, but and I always thought I couldn't draw, but I did learn to draw learn drawing later. But I made the nun. So this is the one, the big figure that is the nun.
Oh, wow.
Nasty nun. I said the nasty nun.
Oh, God, yes.
And then I think I'm on the left, sort of looking a bit sad and a bit cross. And there's a figure at the back, and it seems to me a little bit more compassionate. I don't know, maybe something about the nun herself, because I've never had any sympathy for that nun. You know, it was horrific, but it feels like there was something more gentle about that third figure up there who, you know, I'm kind of clearly cross with a nun, and I'm saying, oh, bat and stuff like that. So extraordinary, but that was it
That's
came from something new.
powerful picture.
Oh, thank you. I think it's. I mean, I've always drawn in on, you know, on. I mean, I think I've stopped myself doing that, and I think I need to just keep on doing it. You know, doing that both on paper, on text, on anytime. Just keep on doing those drawings. But they used to be often bodies. I mean, often from women's, female bodies. I love drawing beautiful breasts. Actually, I love breasts.
Who doesn't love a breast?
Who doesn't?
That's great.
It made me feel so profoundly ashamed. I mean, it was, and of course I told nobody.
Right.
My little other friend, she didn't get into trouble at all. She said, I was going to put dresses on them.
Yeah, I'd like to hang up mine. It's
whoa.
It's a drawing of a drawing. Just with, I've got a lot of drawing supplies here. So when I was a kid, this is so funny to me. So I lived with my 10 brothers and sisters in a very small house. So the third, and it's a house full of kids. And yet there was this painting of a Spanish conquistador carrying a threatening sword and blood. He looked ferocious. And even at seven, I wondered, why is that picture hanging in our house? That's a grim picture that does. And like it was a very Catholic household, but even then, it just did not fit. And it hung there. We had that painting for 30 years. The paintings never changed, never changed. But drawing it, I realized I didn't like it. It was inappropriate, many negative feelings, but drawing it, I realized there was something I admired about it too. And I never knew that till 5 minutes ago with my big blackie. But yeah, so there's Baywood, Illinois conquistador.
You must have so many associations to that picture.
And yes, it's really those images, those still images that stick in your mind for 40, 50, 60 years. You don't even, well, certainly I don't know why, but yeah, they're just layers. I love, you were talking about something, Liz, and you were talking about layers and layers and layers. And that is those, I think those things, the portraits hung in your mind for decades are just layers.
You just transformed it by drawing.
Yes, I saw a whole different emotional stance, but I think that's like portrait of focusing. You can pick up anything. In fact, next time I clear a space, I'm going to clear a space doodling. I have never done that. It has always been verbal for me and very verbally silent. So I'm going to clear a space with doodly. See what.
That's a wonderful idea.
It's
Laura?
I'll just stick this out. I was reading Daniel Dennett and some linguists. We're talking about the neurology of writing about something, thinking about it, and talking out loud about it. And each experience involves a different set of neurons. Not completely, of course, I'm assuming just a little bit, but drawing too. you drag in a different part, a different
Mm.
flavor. I suppose if you danced it.
Mhm.
You just gave me an idea on how to prepare for a class I'm teaching.
Huh. Do you want to say more?
That it's a Buddhist class, and I'm trying to digest it so that what I'm teaching is for me. And so just the invitation, I always did write and then read out loud. But what were the three things you said? Writing, speaking. I know we could draw. There was one other. So what the exercise, what was interesting to me was I've been sort of in a modality of collecting other people's images and using photography and playing with AI and what you could generate. And it's sort of like a collage process. And this was like, oh, wait, I could create the image. I could go right there.
Ah.
And I've been interested in illustrations with black lines and filling in color and stuff. Murders in the Building. I love that title sequence. Something like Masterpiece Theater. Edward Gorey had a style, and the artist sort of incorporated that. And Good Omens, for anybody who finds that, has an amazing title sequence. Anyway, yeah, so this is what I drew. There's this kind of funny looking bunny, maybe. At any rate, it felt invitation to be playful and color outside the lines.
Thank you. Natty?
So thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. My response, I have to say, was to not respond, to not draw anything, and to give me the permission to not do so. Because what you did first, I thought it was brilliant and so creative, and just the pictures and the gestures and the look in the eyes of the pictures that you drew, the characters were so conveyed so much, conveyed so much. And what it brought, everything you said and shared brought to me was a sense of freedom and lightness and like, and with taking life with a bit more lightness, and I'm not taking away the seriousness, but and with more of a sense of humor, and just allowing things to just be and not go into those places where I can go of being the perfectionist and doing things just the right way and get stuck there. So it was like giving myself the permission to not do that and to just enjoy. I'm a person who dreams very vivid dreams, and just being with those images, even though I don't put them into the paper, is just something that I love doing. So I have to thank you for that, for bringing this and or reminding me of, oh, things can be felt and experienced with more lightness about them. So thank you, Liz. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Pauline has a hand up.
Hi, Liz. Can you hear me all right? I'm just so glad that you did your presentation. I know that a couple of weeks kind of in the coming up to it, you sort of said you were doing it, and yeah, maybe just seeing how you feel after that. You know, were we okay for you? Were we okay for you?
Yeah, I feel that I got such a nice, generous response. Thank you so much. I feel appreciated.
Good, good, good. Thank you. And thank you for being so brave. Thank you.
Made a cover for my book, and it's an audio book. And here are the different chapters with the links to the recordings.
Oh,
Can you put it slightly closer? I don't know if you can do that. Ooh, look at that.
wow.
Wow.
Thank you, Lynn. It's surprised. I didn't know how it would possibly be.
Mhm.
Yeah, that surprised me. Hmm.
Laura has her hand up for a while.
Somebody else had a hand.
That's just because I didn't put it down. Sorry.
And Laura, I
Oh.
was wondering.
Oh, Mary,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
your
The
hand up?
reaction.
Yeah.
Well, I had something to work on immediately because in the chat, Katerina had asked me if I would post one of these things, these times together. And so I had a lot to work with. So let's see. No, can't get it clear enough. Sorry. Anyway, it's a
You're
picture
blurring
of
your
me going-
background. If you blur your background, you can't do it.
What? Oh,
Nothing can be
yeah.
focused except for you.
Okay, I'll just tell you, it's a picture of me going like this, like, and doesn't she know I'm not a therapist? I'm not smart enough, funny, talented, brilliant, like what I've seen here this morning through Liz, and everyone will see through me. And then I tried to draw a person looking through a microscope everyone will see through me. And I said, I can't even draw a person looking through a microscope. But it was curious as I did that how many people really could draw a person looking through a microscope without a picture of a microscope in front of them. If I had the microscope in front of me, I could draw it. So there was something about putting that on the page that had another step to it. It's kind of like the focusing, the implicit in putting the picture on the page made another step come. So thank you so much. This is just magical. Thanks.
That's so interesting because my mother had a job during World War II as a bacteriologist for the New York City Board of Health. And I wanted to draw her looking through a microscope. This was before I was born. And I couldn't do it. It's one thing I was saying before is that I learned, I cheat. And so I found pictures by Googling women looking through microscopes. And I traced it and I made it, my own. But yeah, I mean, that's been a part of the process too, is that I can't really draw. I have to steal things from other people, but I totally relate to that. I can't do things from my head like that either. So then is it stealing? Is it okay? Is it a crutch? Am I not an artist? You can go so many different ways. Or am I just, like Vermeer, who had his thing where he projected images and traced them? You could go any way with this stuff, right? Depending on if you want to punish yourself or if you want to have a good time. Thank you for saying all that.
I realized that the place where I'm most blocked is drawing things. And I do a lot of art, mixed media art, but I never draw anything. And so here I was with this 5 minutes to draw something. And I took, Liz, what you said about emojis, and I put all of these different me's on the page as little emojis, and I got so much out of that, thinking of all the different me's.
Mhm. Thank you. So I think this is when we stop.
Yes, I think we have had such a fulfilling, wonderful, profound, and fun time together. And Liz, it's been quite extraordinary. I'm certainly glad we recorded it. And I guess it's time for Dorothy's poem.
How, there've been so many references in chat. How can I grab chat in a file?
The 3 dots that are next to the smiley face say save chat.
Oh, fab, thanks.
Dorothy, you muted.
The poem is called Greed by Nina Cassian. And I think it's kind of neat that not only is she a writer, a poet, a philosopher, professor, she also was an accomplished pianist. And I like thinking of that because Liz is also a musician, besides being a writer and many other things. Nina Cassian was born in 1924. I think I said she's Romanian and came to the United States when she was 60 and taught at NYU. Greed. I am greedy. Puritans scold me for running breathlessly over life's table of contents and for wishing and longing for everything. They scold me for feasting on joy and despair together with jugs of sour cream and hot polenta. Jack to my wearing a tie pin and a carnation in my hair, or being sometimes boy, sometimes girl, and who knows what else. They rebuke me for not distributing love according to a plan, for not rationing it, for having a potter's sage hands, and now and then solving equations. Well, that's my way. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I rush through the world like a living sound. I refuse to walk slowly, to crawl, or to remain indebted for a kiss. I'm greedy. I gulp things down. I fly, and I'm proud that on my small lapel, occasionally a decoration glitters. Call it rapture, that golden rosette.
What a
Oh,
great
thank you.
poem.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect for this
It is.
reflection. Yes. Well, have a wonderful week, everybody, and we'll see you next week.